Hello, everyone. Today, I invite you to enjoy a high-level chess game between Hikaru Nakamura and Sergey Karjakin from 2013. Experts have hailed this game as one of the finest in Hikaru Nakamura's career. Let's dive in and watch it together.
Opening with the queen's pawn controls the center and usually leads to a more positional development of the pieces. The Indian game begins by controlling the important e4 square with the knight, rather than a pawn. c4 builds a strong center by controlling the important d5 square and creates a square for the knight to come to c3 without blocking the c-pawn. The king's Indian defense prepares to develop the bishop to g7, allowing white to build up a strong center, which black will later try to undermine. Knight c3 prepares the e2-e4 pawn push and helps control the d5 square. The Grenfell defense uses this pawn push to gain space in the center and attack the c4 pawn. C takes d5 opens up the center. After black recaptures with knight takes d5, white is prepared to answer with e2-e4. Knight takes d5 recaptures the d5 pawn and places the knight in the center, where it controls many important squares. Bishop d2 develops the bishop and supports the knight on c3. Bishop g7 puts the bishop on the long diagonal in a move called a fianchetto. e4 takes space in the center, attacks the knight on d5, and allows the light-squared bishop to develop. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. Recaptures. This strikes at the center with a pawn, trying to gain space. This move puts the pawn on a safer square. This forces the opponent to isolate a pawn. Takes back. Castling kingside tends to be safer than queenside because the king is further from the center. Moving from its starting spot, the knight gets involved in the game. That's not a mistake, but it's not the best move either. This overlooks an opportunity to create a passed pawn. This is an equal trade. Recaptures. Moving from its starting spot, the bishop gets involved in the game. Castling to the same side of the board is a more cautious approach. Takes back. This mobilizes the knight, allowing it to control more of the board. This threatens to win a pawn through an eventual fork. This blocks white's pawn. This develops a rook off its starting square, getting it into the action. This moves the pawn to safety. This takes an open file, a common method for activating a rook. This misses an opportunity to develop a rook off its starting square. This stops the opponent from being able to eventually win a pawn. This permits the opponent to develop a piece while also winning a tempo on a knight. The pawn is now adequately defended. There were worse moves, but also something much better. This ignores an opportunity to connect rooks. This misses an opportunity to eventually win a pawn. This misses an opportunity to take an outpost with a bishop. This is not the right idea. This is the strongest option. Very precise. Right on target. This is the strongest option. This threatens to activate a rook by getting it to the 7th rank. Black was worse off, but now they are in a losing position. A solid choice. Very precise. This misses an opportunity to double rooks on a single file. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. Recaptures. Right on target. This is the strongest option. This permits the opponent to take an outpost with a bishop. One of the best moves. This permits the opponent to win a tempo by threatening a queen. This ignores an opportunity to defend a pawn that was under attack. Takes back. This defends a pawn that was under attack and had no defenders. This is an equal trade. Recaptures. This is the start of the endgame, and white is equal. Very precise. Right on target. This activates the king in the endgame by getting it off of the back rank. This activates the king in the endgame by getting it off of the back rank. That's fine. This is a fair move. That's not a mistake, but it's not the best move either. White had an advantage, but now the game is close to equal. That's fine. This takes an outpost, a square where the bishop cannot be kicked out by a pawn. The game was close to equal, but now white has the advantage. Pushing a passed pawn. White was better off, but now their position is winning. This steps away from the checking pawn. A very strong play. This is the only good move. The passed pawn moves towards its goal. This is the strongest option. The bishop now occupies a secure outpost. This move puts the knight on a safer square. This moves the bishop to a better location, allowing it to control more squares. This threatens to eventually win a pawn. This is the only move that works. This takes an outpost, a square where the bishop cannot be kicked out by a pawn. This moves the knight to safety. Applying pressure to black's pawn chain. That was a free pawn. This is the only good move, pushing a passed pawn. This steps away from the checking pawn. This is the only move that works. This defends the attacked pawn. Putting the piece on a blockade square. This moves the bishop to a more active square, making it gain scope. This evades the check from the bishop. This defends a pawn that was under attack and had no defenders. Placing a rook behind a passed pawn helps keep the pawn protected as it tries to promote. A solid choice. This is a fair move. One of the best moves. The passed pawn moves towards its goal. Very precise.